Part 6, let's go. So I talked to him around 4 in the morning and he tells me that he fell asleep in his truck. At this point, I feel like my world is falling apart. And this is where the stage of bargaining, when you're mourning the loss of something, takes place for me. We were intimate and just sex was different. And no, it wasn't like we couldn't do it. It was just like, it was different. The energy, the moves, everything was just different. You know what the crazy part is? The next day he was like, hey babe, so did you like this? And I had to remove my makeup because I forgot to put under eye cream. And it looked really, really dry. So I asked him if I can go through his phone and he hands it to me. The phone is clean. So the last application that I go through is Google Maps. And I get the exact address of the location of the radius where he was at the night before. Remember, I was still tracking him. So I screenshot it, I send it to myself, and I give him back his phone. Because I was in denial, I feel like I needed proof. Remember, this is a man that I love so much, and I didn't want to believe that he had cheated on me. So I needed to have. After getting the exact address of where he was, he did ask me what I wanted it for, and I told him that I was gonna go check if Oscar really did live there. And he was like, no, why would you do that? Don't bother my friend. And I was like, okay, don't worry about it. So a week went by and I did tell him if he ever did that to me again, I was gonna be done. That was it, because we're 30-year-old, he's a little bit older than me, and we're not here to be playing games. So he tells me one day when we had plans to go to the gym that he was gonna go to Home Depot because he needed to grab something for his side business. I was like, okay, but I'm still tracking him because I'm still having a lot of doubts, and I see that he's not going to Home Depot. He's going towards that route of that address that I have. So I call him and I tell him that I want to meet up with him so that we can go grocery shopping, and he completely flips out and he tells me that I don't trust him and that he doesn't want to talk to me, and he turns off his phone. I grab my kid and I drive to that house. I show up to the house and I knock on the door, and so I knock on the door and I ask for Oscar, and she tells me that there's no Oscar that lives there. And I try to inquire and she tells me that it's only her daughter, her daughter's daughters, and somebody else that lives there. But there's actually an Oscar living next door, the next door neighbor. So I go to the next door neighbor and I tell her what's going on, and I just really find out if there's a possibility that an Oscar lives there. Like, I'm still trying to believe my husband that he's telling me the truth, and she tells me no, that there's no possible way that they would have known each other. So by this time I'm broken. I have my kid with me. I decide to just go home. I call my mom and I finally tell her what's going on because I hadn't told anybody what I was going through and I was just broken. The next day I had to go to training at the office and I had to drop off my kid. He doesn't show up. As I'm driving to training, this is where I felt I was in the darkest place of my life, because for a split second I thought about just driving off, and then I thought about my son. I thought about him and I was like, no, I can't be thinking like this. So while I'm driving, I put a finger down if you found out that your husband of 10 years cheated on you. So you're super heartbroken and you start going to therapy, and you get the guts to tell him to leave the house, and all he replies to your long text message is okay, thank you. So you leave for the weekend so that he can come home and pack his things and leave, because you don't want to see him, because you don't know how you're going to react. So when you come back on a Sunday, you see that all his things are still here. He comes back a few days later after you not talking to him or seeing him for almost a week, and he tells you, why would you pack all his things and put him in the garage? Because you had to do it yourself. So then you tell him, hey, well, you're not coming home, like, where are you staying? And he's still not admitting that he's been staying at that address that you still have from the very first time that he didn't come home. So then you try to find out who she is, who this person is, because at this point you already know that it must be a lady. So you finally found his truck around the area where he's been staying, and you start yelling his name, and the neighbor comes out and she tells you, well, it's not me, it must be somebody else. I've been seeing a black Jeep picking him up. So then you realize that the Jeep had been parked outside the house of that address that I had the whole time. So the car had custom plates, and I figured that somebody that has custom plates must have the same Instagram username. So I go to Instagram and I cannot find it, but then I remember that my son still followed my ex. So I went under my son's account to my ex's Instagram, and there it goes. I found the Instagram that was attached to a business account that had the photo of the Jeep as a profile photo. So then I click on the business page, and I realized that this page had viewed my story in the past, and I started following them. So then I go back to my account and I look for both usernames, and I cannot find them, which means that I was blocked. So till this day, he lives with her. He moved in with her. He never admitted to it. When we filed for divorce, he put the wrong date of separation. He put 2019, which led me to believe that they started their relationship in 2019. And not only that, but after finding out who she was, I finds out who this person is. She sends me screenshots of her Facebook, and I send them to my friend, and I was in plain disbelief. So before I go to my attorney's appointment for our divorce, he comes to my house and he tells me that this person was there when they went to the bachelor party in Mexico, that all my friends thought that perhaps they had met over there, but she happened to be there at the beach there when they went to go eat Al Muchacho Alegre. If you guys been to Mazatlan, I love that place. And then once they woke up from being super drunk, she was at the house with her friends. So I mean, that's the end of the story. I want to ask for all of you to not contact him. I know, I don't know how the freaking internet works harder than Kris Jenner, but please respect him. I respect him. I have a son with him. He's still my son's father, and that's it. We're still going through the divorce. So I am thankful